Hello everyone, today we are going to be doing a question for Module 1, Module 5, and Module 8. So, let's get started firstly with Module 1. Ooh. So, our starting problem is, today is Marcus's birthday. He is 24 years old. At some time in the future, Riley will have her 15th birthday. At that time, Marcus will be twice as old as Riley. How old is Riley now? What is the age difference between Riley and Marcus? So, before we even start working with any numbers, we must look at our given information. So, we know that Marcus is 24 years old. We know in the future, Riley will be 15 years old. And our connecting piece is Marcus will be twice as old as Riley in the future. So, now that we have our given information, we are going to put in our categories. So first we have Marcus, then we have Riley, and then based on time, we have the now and the future. Now that our categories are all sorted, we're going to put in our given information. So, we know currently Marcus is 24 years old. We also know in the future, Riley will be 15. Given that, it might be a little bit, what do we do next? Well, like I said before, we have our little connecting piece. So, in the future, Riley is 15, and Marcus will be twice as old as Riley. So, in order to get twice as old, we have to multiply Riley's age by 2, which will give us 30. So, Marcus will be 30 years in the future. Well, we're going to skip our first question to figure out how old Riley is now. The age difference between the two is 6 years. Because that's the difference between 24 and 30. And going back to our first question, how old is Riley now? Well, time does not change, so it will also be a 6-year difference. So Riley is currently 9 years old. So let's write out our thing. Riley is currently 9 years old. And then our second question, there is a 6-year difference between Riley and Marcus. Now that we've gotten number 1 figured out, let's move on to Module 5. Alright, moving on to Module 5. Our question is, on Saturday morning, Jamal baked a batch of brownies and put them in a container. By Sunday night, his siblings had eaten 1/4 of the brownies. On Monday afternoon, 1/5 of the remaining brownies were eaten. On Tuesday, Jamal's siblings ate the same number of brownies as they did on Sunday. On Wednesday's morning, only 12 brownies were left. How many brownies did Jamal bake on Saturday? For these problems, we are going to go one by one chronological order. It will keep things straight and orderly and way less confusing. But before we even dive into using numbers, we're going to make our starting container. It helps you visually see how many brownies are left. So, this is our container. Let's start. The first fraction given to us is Sunday night. 1/4 of the brownies were eaten. So, we are first going to split our brownie case into 4s. And this 1/4 was eaten. Done. Moving on, next in order. On Monday afternoon, 1/5 of the remaining brownies were eaten. So, we have thirds, we need fifths. The closest way of doing that is to make it into 15ths. So, we are going to split, wrong color, our container into this. Perfect. Well, 1/5 is the same as 3/15, so we are going to cross off 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. And we are done with our next part. The last information we have is Jamal's siblings on Tuesday ate the same number of brownies. So let's highlight that as they did on Sunday. Well, we know they ate 1/4 on Sunday, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. So we're going to mark off 5 of these boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, we are finished our fractions. Let's check that off. So, these are our remaining boxes of brownies left. And we know 12 brownies were left. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 brownies left in the container. Well, 7 boxes left. So 7 boxes will equal 12 brownies. So, in order to find that, we are going to divide 7. So 1 box equals, let's calculate, 0.71, which is about 2 brownies. And if we know 2 brownies are per box, so we have to use all boxes in here to find our total. Well, we know there's 5 here, 4 on the top, so we know there's 20 boxes, 2 brownies each. So Jamal made 40 brownies total, or just about that. So we're gonna write down Jamal made 40 brownies on Saturday. And we are now done with Module 5 question. Yay! Moving on to our last question from Module 8. Our question is, 62% of the class received an A on the last exam. If there are 50 students taking the course, how many students got A's on the exam? So, we are going to be using percentage squares when working with these problems so we can visually see what each percentage represents. So, that's what this is. Before we even worry about percentage, we need to know, what does this represent? Well, as we can see labeled right here, there are 50 students taking the course. So, this box will represent our 50 students. Moving into our percentage, though, we have 62%. So, let's represent it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little 2, 62%. And our 62% represents the A's in the class. So we're going to equal it A's. And so if the 62% is the A's, then the part that is not filled in would be the not A's, like B's and C's. Hopefully nothing lower than that, but if it happens, it happens. So how do we figure out how many people actually got A's if we only know the percentage? Well, we are going to be using our total of the 50 students. Our 50 students is equal to 100 of these boxes. So we're finding how many students represent each box, so we know how many students actually got A's. So let's do a little division. 100 in one box equals 0.5, a half student. Well, we can't have halves, but let's first enter it into the amount of A's, which is 62. So 62 boxes times 0.5 a student will equal 31 students, which means 31 students got A's. Let's write this out. 31 students got A's on the last exam. And that is all.